Let's start by looking into Squid Game Season 1. Episode 1, titled Red Light, Green Light. The episode starts with Seong Gi-hun telling a story from his childhood. Back in the 1980s, he and his best friend Cho Sang-woo used to play a game called SquidGame. Gi-hun won and shouted victory. It was a time when life was simple and carefree. Fast forward to June 8, 2020, Gi-hun is now a divorced father living in Seoul. He has a lot of debt because he lost his job at a car factory. His restaurant and snack shop failed, and he has a gambling problem. He lives with his elderly mother and struggles to take care of his daughter, Ga-young, who is having a birthday. His mother gives him money to buy Ga-young a gift and dinner, but Gi-hun steals her money and gambles it away. After winning $4.5 million, he calls Ga-young to ask what she wants for her birthday. However, he gets into trouble with loan sharks and loses the money to a pickpocket, Kang Se-byuk, a North Korean defector. Gi-hun only has a little money left, so he takes Ga-young out for a simple birthday dinner of street food. He feels bad because he can't give her as much as her stepfather did, even though she reassures him that she prefers the street food. At the train station, Gi-hun meets a mysterious salesman who offers him a chance to play a game called Dakji. Each time they lose, they must give the other $100,000. But since Gi-hun has no money, the salesman slaps him every time he loses. After being slapped many times, Gi-hun finally wins $100,000, and the salesman gives him the money along with a strange business card. The salesman tells Gi-hun that if he wants to play bigger games with bigger prizes, he can call the number on the card. The salesman also reveals that he knows about Gi-hun's debts, which shocks him. Gi-hun goes home feeling excited about his winnings. He gives the money back to his mother and pays her back what he took. His mother tells him that Ga-young's stepfather has a job offer in the United States and that Gi-hun needs to show he can financially support his daughter. That night, Gi-hun looks at photos of Ga-young and decides he wants to bring her back. He calls the number on the business card. The person on the other end asks for his name and birthday, then gives him an address to go to. Gi-hun arrives at the address where a van pulls up. The driver, wearing a pink jumpsuit, asks for a password. Gi-hun says red light, green light. Then the driver opens the van door for him. Gi-hun gets inside and notices everyone else is asleep. The driver releases sleep gas, and Gi-hun falls asleep. When Gi-hun wakes up, he finds himself in a large dormitory with other players. Everyone is wearing green tracksuits with numbers on them. The players are monitored by masked guards. Gi-hun meets player 001, an old man named Oh-il-nam, who tells Gi-hun he has a brain tumor and doesn't have much time left. A fight breaks out between Se-byuk and Jang Deok-soo, a gangster, and her former mentor. Gi-hun recognizes Se-byuk as the pickpocket who stole from him earlier. Tensions rise, and a guard enters to stop the fight. A manager in a pink jumpsuit then enters and explains the rules. The players will play 6 games, and the winner gets a huge cash prize. They are told to sign a consent form agreeing to play the games. The first game is red light, green light. Players must cross the finish line, but can only move when the doll's head is turned away. If they move when the doll's head turns, they will be eliminated. As the game starts, panic sets in when players realize they will be shot if they lose. Several players are killed, and Gi-hun freezes in fear. He follows Sang-woo's advice to hide behind other players to avoid being detected. Eventually, players start to move forward, but some are eliminated for not being careful. Gi-hun makes it across the finish line just in time with the help of Ali, who grabs him when he trips over a corpse. The remaining players who don't finish in time are eliminated. The first game ends, and the players are left shaken. They are on a secluded island, where they must face more deadly challenges ahead. Starting off on Squid Game Season 1, Episode 2, titled Hell, the episode begins with the guards disposing of the bodies of the players who had been eliminated. One of the coffins starts to shake as a player who was still alive tries to climb out. The guards quickly notice and seal the coffin shut, preventing the player from escaping. After the first game, all the surviving contestants are brought back to the dormitory. The guards enter and congratulate the players for completing the first game. saying that 255 players were eliminated. Some players, including Han Minyo, player 212, begged to be released from the games, promising to pay off their debts. A guard explains that the purpose of the games is not to punish the players for their debts, but to offer them a second chance. The players are reminded that those who refuse to continue will be removed from the game. Cho Sang-woo suggests they use the third clause of the consent form, which allows the game to be stopped if the majority votes to leave. The guards agree to this, but first they show the prize money. They explain that each contestant is worth $100 million, and the total prize pot will be $45.6 billion. The guards then set up a voting machine with two buttons, a circle to continue and an X to leave. If they choose to leave, they will not receive any of the prize money. Voting is done in reverse order, so Seong Gi-hun, player 456, is the first to vote and chooses X to leave. Player 453, an elderly woman, initially hesitates, but after thinking about the money, chooses O to stay, surprising Gi-hun. The votes continue, and the count remains close. Sang-woo votes O, and Gi-hun is shocked to see his friend choose the prize money over his own life. Some players, like Minyo, vote O, while others vote X. No Sang-hun voices his strong opinion against continuing the games, saying it's madness. Minyo asks if leaving will really change anything, pointing out that life outside is difficult, and Min-tae agrees, saying stopping the games would just benefit the players who have already passed away. Sang-hun and Min-tae argue, and the guards step in, reminding everyone that the democratic voting process must continue. Voting continues, with more players choosing O to stay, and eventually it's down to the last voter, player 01 O Il-nam. Gi-hun recalls Il-nam's earlier words about his brain tumor, worrying about the elderly man's decision. Il-nam finally votes X, ending the vote with 100 votes to continue and 101 votes to leave. The majority has chosen to end the game, and the players who voted to leave are happy to go home, while those who chose to stay are disappointed that they won't receive the prize money. Min-tae argues that the players who chose X should be allowed to leave, while those who chose O should stay and continue. Minyo suggests they let them continue, and the manager regrets having to say goodbye in this way. He tells the players that if the majority decides to return, the game will resume, and he bids them farewell for now. The players are returned to the mainland that night in pairs, with the promise that if the majority wants to continue the game, it will restart after a few days. Gi-hun is dropped off with Se-byok, the pickpocket who stole his money. Sang-woo is dropped off with Ali, the immigrant who saved Gi-hun in the first game. Ali asks Sang-woo if he can borrow his phone to make a call. Sang-woo agrees, but when he tries to use his phone, it's dead. He goes with Ali to buy a charger, and while charging his phone, Sang-woo sees a flood of messages from authorities demanding payment for his debts. Sang-woo gives Ali some money for a bus ride back home, and Ali thanks him profusely. Gi-hun tries to report the game to the police, but the officers dismiss him, thinking he is drunk or lying. He gives them the business card, but when one officer calls the number, a woman answers and calls him a pervert before hanging up. Gi-hun, believing it was a mistake, tries the number again, but the line is now disconnected. Detective Hwang Jun-ho overhears the conversation and begins to investigate further. He finds a business card in his brother's room, which leads him to suspect that Gi-hun's story might be true. Gi-hun, unable to find his mother, searches for her on the streets and runs into Sang-woo, who avoids meeting his mother. Gi-hun tells him that with his financial knowledge, he could help Sang-woo pay off his $650 million debt. Sang-woo confesses that his debts total $6 billion due to bad investments, and that he has put his mother's store and home up as collateral. Gi-hun rushes to the hospital, but his mother refuses treatment, reminding him that he cancelled their health insurance and drained their savings for his gambling habit. Feeling guilty, Gi-hun vows to make things right and find a way to get the money. Se-byok visits her little brother Cheol at an orphanage, where he complains that the other children pick on him, calling him abandoned. Se-byuk promises him she will get him out of the orphanage and rescue their mother from North Korea. She goes to visit the broker she hired, only to find that he has run off with her money.
한 번 더 나 속이면 다음엔 무조건 네
Ali returns to the factory where he works and confronts his boss about his unpaid wages, which he hasn't received in 6 months. His boss refuses to pay him, but Ali sees him putting an envelope of cash into his pocket. When Ali keeps asking for the money, his boss gets angry and pushes him. In the struggle, Ali accidentally knocks his boss into a machine, injuring him. Ali grabs the envelope of cash and runs away. Sang-woo lies to his mother on the phone, saying he's on a business trip. Later, 2 police officers visit her and inform her that Sang-woo is wanted for embezzlement and fraud, leaving her shocked and upset. Meanwhile, Sang-woo, in despair, tries to take his own life by inhaling charcoal fumes in his bathtub. He's interrupted by a knock on the door and finds another business card from the game, with instructions on when and where his pickup will be. Ali returns home covered in blood, surprising his wife, who asks about the money. Ali tells her to buy tickets for a flight back to Pakistan for her and their child, promising he will join them later. Gi-hun, desperate to save his mother, tries asking his ex-wife for help. However, she and her husband are also struggling financially. Gi-hun and his ex-wife argue, and her husband offers to give him money if he agrees to stop seeing Ga-young. Gi-hun refuses the offer and storms off. On his way home, he bumps into Junho, who questions him about the games. Junho insists he needs Gi-hun's help to find his missing brother, but Gi-hun feels he can't be of any help. When Gi-hun arrives home, he receives another invitation to return to the games. In the end, the majority of players decide to return to the games. They wait on the street at midnight to be picked up by the vans, with Junho secretly following them to uncover the truth about the games. Next, we move on to episode 3. The episode begins with the vans carrying the players who chose to continue the game. The ship finally arrives at the island. The workers start changing the players' clothes. Se-byuk, pretending to be unconscious, secretly slips a knife into a worker's pocket and then takes it back out. The players then wake up in the familiar lobby. Player 001, who's still with Gi-hun, mentions how almost everyone returned. They talk, and soon Sang-woo and Ali join them. They all decide to team up and discuss what the next game might be. That night, player 212, Han Min-yo, and Se-byuk head to the bathroom. Se-byuk sneaks into the vents and finds workers cooking something, while Min-yo distracts a soldier outside. The next day, Se-byuk tells Min-yo that the workers were melting sugar. The next game takes place in a room that looks like a playground. There are 4 doors with different shapes: a circle, a star, a triangle, and an umbrella. Each player must pick a shape and stand in line in front of the corresponding door. Player 111, Byung-gi, already knows what the next game will be because he received a note hidden in his breakfast bun. Gi-hun and his group decide to pick a shape on their own. The players collect their candies from the workers, and Byung-gi gets a triangle candy. Player 001, player 212, and Deok-soo gets star-shaped candies. Ali gets a circle candy, and player 067 follows Sang-woo's choice, getting a triangle. Gi-hun, unfortunately, gets the hardest candy shape, the umbrella. When the announcer reveals that the next game is Sugar Honeycombs, Gi-hun is horrified. The announcer goes over the game's rules, and the players start to carefully cut their shapes out of the dalgona, a honeycomb candy. After a minute or two, Park Ju-won accidentally breaks his umbrella candy and is immediately eliminated. The blood left behind as his body slides down the slide serves as a warning to the others. The players become even more nervous, and many others accidentally break their shapes and are eliminated as well. Gi-hun watches in fear. Meanwhile, Min-yo secretly cheats by using a lighter she stole to heat her needle, making it easier to cut her shape. She notices Deok-soo frantically trying to carve his shape without breaking it. With just over 5 minutes left, Byung-gi successfully cuts his triangle and passes. Sae-byuk manages to carve her triangle, and Ali completes his circle. They all move on to the dormitory. As time passes, more players finish their candies and return to the dormitory. Gi-hun struggles to stay calm and keeps working on his umbrella candy. Sweat drips onto it, causing some of it to melt. He gets an idea and licks the back of his candy, hoping that it will make it easier to cut the shape out without breaking it. Minyo skillfully cuts her star-shaped candy without any issues, and even mocks the guards by eating it whole. Deok-soo watches the others and copies. Gi-hun's technique becomes the trick to pass the game, and the others follow his lead. The guards in the control room notice the players using the same method and watch in confusion. Deok-soo also finishes his candy with the lighter Minyo gave him. With less than a minute left, Gi-hun, Deok-soo, and the others manage to finish their candies and move on to the next round. Back in the playground, one of the soldiers forces No Sang-hun to show his dalgona. His umbrella is badly cracked, and as the soldier gets ready to eliminate him, Sang-hun fights back. He manages to stab the soldier in the eye with the needle, steal his gun, and take a manager hostage. Sang-hun shouts that the game is unfair, saying that the players who chose easy shapes have it easier than those who picked hard ones. The front man arrives, and the soldiers use their guns to eliminate the players who didn't finish in time. Gi-hun and the other survivors hear the gunshots as they head to the lobby. Sang-hun orders the manager to remove his mask. He's shocked to find out that the manager is a young man. Sang-hun is confused about how someone so young could be in charge. After the manager is executed, Sang-hun, overwhelmed by everything, takes his own life. Meanwhile, Jun-ho and the workers begin cleaning up the bodies. Jun-ho notices the dead manager's mask on the ground and takes it, planning to use it later. So on Squid Game Season 1, Episode 4, titled Stick to the Team, Byung-gi and a soldier, sneaking away while a manager messes with the security footage, making sure no one knows what's going on. Meanwhile, on the stairs, Jang Deok-soo gives Han Minyo her lighter back and thanks her for helping him, inviting her into his gang. Cheong Gi-hun remembers that Sang-woo wanted to tell him something before the Sugar Honeycombs game started. He starts to suspect that Sang-woo might have known what the game was. Oh Il-nam, the elderly man, tells Gi-hun that he survived the second game, thanks to Gi-hun's technique of licking the dalgona candy to make it easier to carve out. Back at the dormitory, Gi-hun and Il-nam are greeted by Sang-woo and Ali. Ali is relieved that they're both still alive, and Gi-hun reassures him that he's tough. Il-nam says that it's thanks to Gi-hun that he's still here. Sang-woo apologizes and admits that he was wrong to suggest they separate earlier. Gi-hun forgives him for getting his earlier suspicions and reminds him that he chose the umbrella candy, which was the hardest. The announcer announces that from the 187 players, only 79 were eliminated, leaving 108 players who survived the second game. The prize money has now reached $34.8 billion. During mealtime, the workers give the players a tiny portion of food, just a boiled egg and a bottle of soda. Deok-soo complains about the lack of food, and Minyo tells him to eat his ration and get back in line. Players begin to cut in line, and player 278 stands in front of Minyo. Deok-soo also cuts in line and tells player 198 to be quiet and have an egg. Eventually, players 271 and 443 run out of food. Player 198 tells them that Deok-soo's gang cut in line to get more food. 271 gets angry and asks why they took the food. He tries to grab the drink from Deok-soo, but the bottle breaks. In a fit of rage, Deok-soo shoves 271 to the floor, beating him brutally. Gi-hun and Sang-woo go to check on 271, but when they reach him, they realize he's dead. Gi-hun yells at the masked men, demanding they do something, but the guards just take 271's body away and add his share of the money to the prize pool. Gi-hun is furious and Deok-soo comes up with a horrible idea. Meanwhile, in the incinerator, the bodies of eliminated players are burned. Hwang Jun-ho, still undercover, wears the square mask of the manager that the frontman killed earlier. A soldier sees him and asks why he's not working. Junho turns around and reveals that he's actually a manager. The soldier apologizes and asks how he can help. And Junho reminds him that workers shouldn't speak without permission from their superior. In a secret room, it's revealed that Byung-gi, who is a doctor, is helping a group of corrupt guards in an illegal organ trade operation. He extracts good organs from the eliminated players in exchange for extra food and information about the games. He's told the lights will be turned off in 30 minutes, so he rushes to finish up and return to the dormitory. Back in the dormitory, Gi-hun, Sang-woo, Ali, and Il-nam stick together, discussing a plan for the night. Sang-woo thinks that things will get dangerous because of what happened earlier. Gi-hun approaches Kang Se-byuk, offering her safety, but she rejects the offer. In the secret room, Worker 028 is asked about the whereabouts of Worker 029, not realizing that it's Junho in disguise. Worker 028 says that 029 didn't show up. Byung-gi then asks the guards about the next game, and they give him an egg. The guards explain that they gave the players less food to start fights among them. Byung-gi is advised to stick with the strongest players to survive and continue, helping with their side business. Byung-gi eats the egg and pulls out a piece of paper with the next game on it. He walks over to Deok-soo and his gang, asking to join them. Min-yo looks at him and asks what he's good at. He says he's a doctor and that they might need him, but Min-yo laughs, joking that he'll just give her a shot if she gets sick. Deok-soo threatens him, but gets curious when Byung-gi says he knows what the next game is. 2 minutes before the lights go out, the announcer tells the staff to get into position for the special game. Junho, now disguised as a manager, enters an elevator with other guards. The lights go out and chaos begins. Deok-soo goes after player 198, stabbing her with a piece of glass from the broken bottle. She screams, and the beds in the dormitory collapse, causing more chaos. Se-byuk is attacked by player 040, who tries to choke her. Deok-soo follows her, attempting to grab her, but she manages to stab him in the leg. He pushes her into a row of beds and nearly breaks her arm. He then tries to choke her again, but she kicks him in the groin and climbs over the bed. As Deok-soo corners her, player 331 pushes him, and Deok-soo stabs him repeatedly in the arm. Se-byuk manages to escape. Gi-hun's bed gets stuck with another bed, and as he tries to free himself, player 413 attacks him with a metal rail. They start fighting, and Gi-hun tries to escape. Sang-woo and Ali arrive just in time to help. Ali takes the rail from player 413, and Sang-woo starts hitting him with it. 413 knocks Sang-woo down with a punch, but Ali throws him into the crowd, where another player attacks him. Sang-woo and Ali check on Gi-hun, then search for Il-nam. Gi-hun is attacked by player 113, but Sang-woo hits him, and they throw him down the stairs. Gi-hun, Sang-woo, and Ali make their way through the chaos, fighting off attackers until they reach Il-nam's bed, but the old man is gone. Gi-hun starts calling out for him, worried. Se-byuk sees Gi-hun and runs to him, but Deok-soo appears and tries to attack Se-byuk. Gi-hun pushes her out of the way and throws Deok-soo back. Deok-soo tries to scratch him with a knife, but Se-byuk kicks him. Player 303 hits her in the head with a bottle, but Sang-woo strikes him with a rail. Player 040 tries to kick them, but Ali makes him back off by wielding a large metal beam. Gi-hun, Sang-woo, Ali, and Se-byuk band together to defend themselves against Deok-soo. Player 278, 303, 040, Min-yo and Byung-gi. Il-nam, on top of a high bunk bed, screams that he is scared and pleads for the riot to stop. The front man hears this and orders the staff to end the special game. The guards come into the dormitory, checking every remaining player. Junho, still undercover, approaches Gi-hun and asks if he knows someone named Hwang In-ho. Gi-hun says that players don't use their real names there. Gi-hun, Sang-woo, Ali, Se-byuk, and Il-nam reunite. Gi-hun asks if Il-nam is okay, and Ali expresses his concern. Sang-woo says they're lucky that no one got hurt. Gi-hun suggests they share their names to build trust. Ali calls Gi-hun Sangmun-dong because of Deok-soo's nickname for him. Gi-hun laughs and explains that Sangmun-dong is his hometown. He then tells them his name is Seong Gi-hun. Sang-woo asks Ali for his name, And Ali replies, Ali Abdul, saying he's from Pakistan. Gi-hun asks where that is, and Sang-woo says it's north of India. Sang-woo introduces himself as Cho Sang-woo, and Gi-hun turns to Sebyok, asking her to share her name. She hesitates, but finally says her name is Kang Sebyok. When Ali asks Ilnam his name, he doesn't respond, as he's struggling to remember. Byung-gi helps Deok-soo by stitching up his stab wound. Player 278 complains about the guards and the chaos, saying the game should have ended by now. Deok-soo interjects, saying they can try to kill other players as long as they don't die. Minyo says they eliminated 27 players, looking directly at Deok-soo. Deok-soo responds, but Minyo jests about his age. He guesses her age correctly and, in exchange for her help, promises they'll escape together. Junho keeps notes in his dorm. A man coughs in Morse code, signaling number 029. The next morning, the players are awakened, and the announcement is made that the third game is about to begin. The guards organize the players into teams of 10 for the next game. Gi-hun asks Sang-woo what they should do, and Sang-woo suggests recruiting 5 strong players. Ali meets player 276, and they realize they're both from Pakistan, so they team up. Sang-woo meets player 069 and proposes joining his team. However, 069 says he should stay with his wife. Player 070, Gi-hun approaches player 244, a church pastor, and asks him to join their team. Deok-soo forms his team by recruiting the strongest players and leaves. Minyo behind. She pleads with him, but he pushes her to the ground. Sebyok, looking for a team member, finds player 240, Ji-young, by herself and asks her to join. Minyo joins their team after hearing Sang-woo complain that they're weak. The timer runs out and the game begins. The teams are led to another room. A guard reveals that they will play tug of war and explains the rules. The guard draws lots to determine which teams will compete first. Team 1, Deok-soo's gang, faces off against Team 7, and Team 1 wins easily, pulling Team 7 off their platform, resulting in their elimination. Next is Squid Game Season 1, Episode 5, titled A Fair World. Let's break down the craziness that went down in this episode. The episode picks up right after the tug-of-war game, where Gi-hun and Team 4 managed to win against Team 5, following Cho Sang-woo's advice to take 3 steps forward. They managed to make Team 5 fall over, and with their second wind, Gi-hun and his team easily pull back their opponents to win. Unfortunately, Team 5 falls to their deaths. Gi-hun looks at his scratched hands and feels a deep sense of guilt for the loss of life, especially as he thinks about the fate of Team 5. When they return to the dormitory, Jang Deok-soo's gang, particularly Deok-soo himself, is shocked to see that Gi-hun's team made it out alive. Now only 40 players remain out of the original 80, and the prize money has risen to $41.6 billion. The players are served a meager meal of a corn cob and a bottle of water, which makes everyone more tense. They realize they need to prepare for another fight in case things get violent again. As a result, each team starts building barricades around their sleeping areas to protect themselves. Deok-soo shows up with Gi-hun's team and taunts him, saying that Gi-hun's plan won't work. Gi-hun asks Deok-soo if he really thinks his group will be safe, questioning if his allies are trustworthy. The two watch as the players start fighting each other with metal rails, and Gi-hun tells Deok-soo that if he were them, he would take down the strongest member of the gang first. Gi-hun's words stick in Deok-soo's mind, and he orders his underlings to take the night off, becoming paranoid about Gi-hun's strategy. Meanwhile, Sang-woo and Ali Abdul are keeping watch over the others while they sleep. They bond over their shared situation, and Ali talks about his family back in Pakistan. He explains that he brought his wife and son to Korea for work but had to send them back to Pakistan because of the financial struggles. As a poor immigrant, Ali wanted to participate in the games to change his life. The staff offers Byung-gi, the doctor, information about the next game in exchange for helping with organ extraction from the eliminated players. Byung-gi, however, is starting to crack under the pressure. He's overwhelmed by the complex surgeries, minimal food, and lack of sleep, all while having to keep up with the brutal pace of the games. During all of this, Gi-hun and Il-nam start to share their pasts. Gi-hun explains that he used to work at a factory, making car parts, but was laid off due to poor management by the higher-ups. His co-workers protested for their jobs, but things escalated into a violent riot where Gi-hun saw one of his co-workers get shot and killed right in front of him. At the same time, Gi-hun's ex-wife went into labor, and she nearly died during childbirth, leaving Gi-hun unable to be there for the birth of his daughter, Ga-yong. This traumatic series of events left Gi-hun with PTSD, leading to his downfall into gambling and working dead-end jobs. Il-nam, the old man, starts feeling unwell with a headache and fever. So Gi-hun takes care of him, getting him some water and making sure he's comfortable. At the same time, the guards start growing suspicious of Worker 029, who is actually Hwang Jun-ho in disguise. Worker 029 has been acting strangely, asking too many questions about his job, which he should already know. This is interrupted by Byung-gi, who's losing his mind with stress. Byung-gi finishes removing all the organs from the dead contestants, but the guards inform him that they don't know when the next game will begin. Byung-gi starts to panic, thinking that the guards are hiding information from him. In his desperation, he kills one of the guards before fleeing, and another guard chases after him. The front man and his men catch up with Byung-gi and the corrupt guards, executing them for cheating. Meanwhile, Jun-ho's counterpart becomes suspicious of him. He forces Jun-ho to remove his mask, but Jun-ho manages to get the upper hand. He forces his opponent to remove his own mask and reveals the truth. They talk about a zombie, a person with one kidney who was beaten to death. Jun-ho assumes this zombie is his brother, who donated a kidney to him to save his life when he was ill. However, the other guard clarifies that the victim was female, and Jun-ho is told that he can prove it from the records in the frontman's room. In a fit of anger, Jun-ho kills the guard and goes in search of the frontman's office. Back in the dormitory, all the remaining players are rounded up at gunpoint, including Il-nam, who has soiled himself in fear. Jun-ho sneaks into the front men's office and finds a large room filled with records. Dating back to 1988 about the Squid Game, he discovers that his brother, Hwang In-ho, won the game back in 2015. This revelation leaves Jun-ho shaken, and he realizes just how deep this operation goes. Finally, let's move on to Squid Game Season 1, Episode 6, titled Ganbu. The episode starts with the 39 remaining players moving on to the next game. They are told to pick a partner, and Gi-hun notices that Il-nam had wet himself the previous night. He covers it up by tying his jacket around his waist. As the players make their way through the staircase room, they see the bodies of Byung-gi and his co-conspirators strung up, serving as a harsh reminder of what happens to those who break the rules. The announcer explains that these players violated the most important principle of the Squid Games. Everyone is equal within these walls. Players now fully understand the consequences of cheating. Meanwhile, Hwang Jun-ho is still exploring the frontman's office, trying to gather more information. Back with the players, they are told to partner up, and Gi-hun initially teams up with Cho Sang-woo. However, Sang-woo tells Ali Abdul that they should team up instead because with Ali's strength and his intelligence, they can win. Player 276 goes, looking for a partner and teams up with players 244 and 196. Il-nam, seeing that Gi-hun hasn't found a partner, gives him his jacket and suggests that Gi-hun put it on in case no one wants to team up with him. Jung Jae-soo pairs up with player 278, while Ji-young offers to team up with Jae-byuk to return the favor of helping her during the tug-of-war game. Player 062 approaches Gi-hun, telling him that he should team up with him because he believes they could win together. 062 shares that he's a math teacher and plays soccer every day. He points out that everyone wants to team up with Gi-hun, but Gi-hun's hesitation is clear. 062 suggests that if Gi-hun doesn't pick a partner soon, he'll end up alone, and the one left out might get eliminated. Gi-hun realizes that he can't leave Il-nam alone, so he decides to partner up with the old man instead. By the end of the round, everyone has a partner, except for Han Minyo, who is taken away by the guards. The remaining players assume she will be eliminated. The next game is revealed: marbles. The rules are simple but brutal. Players must steal all of their opponent's marbles by playing a game together. The player who ends up with no marbles will be eliminated. They have 30 minutes to finish, and if no one wins by then, both players will be eliminated. This news comes as a shock to the players, as they had trusted their partners, but now must face off against them. Married couple player 069 and player 070 are especially distressed by the situation, realizing that only one of them can survive. The four main pair-ups are Sang-woo and Ali, Gi-hun and Ilnam, Se-byuk and Ji-young, and Deok-soo and his accomplice, player 278. Sang-woo and Ali begin their game, and Ali, who claims he doesn't know how to play well, starts off slowly. But as the game goes on, Ali takes the upper hand, which makes Sang-woo nervous. Despite feeling guilty, Ali pushes forward and wins a lot of marbles. Sang-woo accuses him of cheating, but Ali denies it. And just as Sang-woo grows more violent, a guard intervenes at gunpoint. Meanwhile, Se-byuk and Ji-young spend most of their game talking rather than playing. They reveal their painful past to each other. Se-byuk shares how a plague in her North Korean village killed her grandfather, grandmother, and older brother. She explains that her family tried to escape to South Korea, but only she and her younger brother survived. Her father was shot trying to cross the border, and her mother was deported back. Ji-young opens up about her own trauma, explaining that her father, a pastor, abused her and her mother, praying for forgiveness every time. One day, after coming home from school, Ji-young found her father had murdered her mother, and in retribution, Ji-young killed him. She had received the Squid Game invitation on the same day. He was released from prison. When Ji-young asks Se-byuk what she would do if she won, Se-byuk says she'd get her mother out of North Korea, buy a nice house, and take a vacation to Jeju Island. Ji-young teases her, suggesting she should aim higher, but Se-byuk just smiles, knowing that their dreams are fragile given their situation. Back to the game, Deok-soo is losing to player 278. In frustration, he reminds the guards that the game was created with equality in mind. He asks if he can have a second chance against player 278. The guard agrees, and they start throwing marbles into a hole. The first one to land their marble in wins all the marbles that have been thrown in previous attempts. In a twist, player 278 accidentally knocks Deok-soo's marble into the hole, making Deok-soo the winner. Deok-soo laughs and quickly collects their marbles, but player 278 tries to escape, running into more guards, who quickly eliminate him. Gi-hun tries to play with Ilnam, but the old man seems confused and starts wandering around, saying he's looking for his house. Gi-hun tries to convince him to play, but Ilnam's confusion makes it difficult. Eventually, Ilnam agrees to play, but Gi-hun realizes he's losing the game. Gi-hun begins winning back their marbles by lying to the old man, pretending that he's winning for real. Eventually, Ilnam runs out of marbles and asks Gi-hun for one last marble. Gi-hun prepares to give him one, but Ilnam suddenly reveals that he has one left. Gi-hun realizes that he has been tricked and is one marble short of winning. However, Ilnam stands up, starts searching for his house again, and leaves Gi-hun to decide what to do. Sang-woo, meanwhile, is desperate. He begs Ali for his life and his family's future, explaining that he can't die and leave his mother behind. In Lee, a humble man, argues that he too has a family and life to return to. Sang-woo, however, proposes a plan. If they team up and find other players who have not finished their games, they could win together. He sends Ali off to recruit stronger players while hiding his own marbles. Ali, trusting Sang-woo, goes to find more teams. When Ali returns to the exit and checks his pouch, he finds only pebbles instead of marbles. He realizes he's been deceived by Sang-woo, and before he can react, a guard shoots him. As Se-byuk and Ji-young are finishing their game, they decide that whoever throws their marble closest to the wall wins. Se-byuk throws first, but to her shock, Ji-young simply drops her marble on the ground, letting Se-byuk win. Se-byuk is confused and confronts Ji-young, who tearfully explains that she has nothing left to fight for. She tells Sae-byuk to live her life to the fullest if she survives and urges her to take a girls' night out to shop one day. Ji-young then dies, leaving Sae-byuk devastated. Gi-hun, who has been following player 001, tries to get him to continue playing. The old man proposes a final game, and Gi-hun is furious, but 01 reveals that he knew. Gi-hun was deceiving him the whole time. Gi-hun breaks down, and player 001 hands him his last marble, saying that they are ganbu, people who share everything. Gi-hun sobs as the old man reassures him, telling him that he made the time in the games enjoyable. When the timer runs out, Gi-hun is forced to leave Il-nam behind. A gunshot rings out, and the announcer announces that player 001 has been eliminated. Gi-hun continues to walk away crying. Next is Squid Game Season 1, Episode 7, titled VIPS. Things are getting really intense. So let's break down what happened in this episode. The episode begins with Ali Abdul being taken along with the other eliminated players to the incinerator. While the frontman watches, he asks a manager if the pink guards have found Hwang Jun-ho yet. The manager tells him no, and the frontman insists that they need to catch him before the VIPs arrive. Back in the dormitory, the survivors of the fourth game are processing everything. To their surprise, Han Minyo has not been executed, even though she didn't participate in the game. The players are shocked, especially Jung Deok-soo. Cho Sang-woo notices that there are only 17 players left and that the prize money has risen to 43.9 billion won. Frontman receives a call, and as he answers, he realizes that someone has touched the telephone. It's hung up normally, but frontman always hangs it up backward. He answers the call and proceeds to search for the intruder. He confronts Jun-ho, telling him that he made a mistake with the phone. As frontman searches with his gun, he warns Jun-ho that he knows he's a police officer, mentioning the Smith & Wesson M60 revolver bullet found in number 28's head, a weapon used by the Korean police. Frontman arrives at the archive room and Jun-ho prepares his gun. However, just as frontman is about to approach Jun-ho's hideout, he's informed that a body has been found on the northern coast of the island. Frontman rushes to the location, saving Jun-ho from being discovered. Back in the dorms, the mood is somber. The players are mourning the loss of their closest companions. Kang Sae-byuk is visibly upset by Ji-young's death and can barely eat. Seong Gi-hun misses Oh Il-nam and hasn't even started eating. Cho Sang-woo, however, tells Gi-hun not to feel bad about Il-nam's death, suggesting that the old man was just a random person he met recently. He points out that player 069's situation is worse, because his partner was his wife, player 070. On the northern coast, frontman sees that the guards have found number 29's body and that they also discovered Jun-ho's police ID. Frontman is informed that the VIPs have arrived, and he instructs the guards to incinerate number 29's body and heads off. In the dormitory, player 069 begs the others to end the game, as he cannot continue after losing his partner. Player 070, he says that if 9 of them agree to stop, they can leave. He questions if they are human for continuing to play for money and reminds them that they've already killed someone close to them just for a chance to win. But Sang-woo steps in, reminding 069 that all their efforts will be for nothing if they quit now. Gi-hun and the others can only watch in silence, knowing Sang-woo is right. The VIPs arrive at the island, 6 elegant men wearing golden animal masks. Frontman informs the host, wearing a golden owl mask, of their arrival. The host takes off his mask and asks frontman to entertain the VIPs on his behalf. Frontman greets the VIPs and explains that the host had to attend to urgent matters. Junho, still hiding, watches the VIPs closely. In the dormitory, the players go to sleep, still mourning their losses. Meanwhile, the VIPs arrive at a room to watch the fifth game. VIP 4 starts yelling at someone not to do something, and the other VIPs ask him what's wrong. VIP 4 explains that player Zo69 has committed suicide by hanging himself. He also reveals that he bet 1,000,000 on Diro 69 to win. When asked why he chose 069, VIP 4 replies that he likes the number. 069 frontman assures them they can bet again when the game starts, and suggests they go rest in their rooms. He also tells them they will be notified when everything is ready. A group of waiters is carrying drinks for the VIPs, when one of them is cornered by Junho. He points his gun at the waiter, telling him his shift is over. Junho knocks him out and ties him up in a food cellar. He takes the waiter's suit and hides, his cell phone in his sleeve to record what's happening. The next morning, the players wake up to find player 069 has hanged himself. His death due to the trauma of losing his partner. Most of the players are shocked, especially Sang-woo, who feels guilty. On the other hand, Deok-soo is pleased as his chances of winning have increased. The screen shows that there are 16 players left, and the prize has grown to 44 billion won. The players are escorted by guards to the fifth game hall, while the VIPs observe them, trying to decide who to bet on. VIP 4 asks Junho for a glass of wine, and the two exchange glances. VIP 4 asks Frontman to reveal what the next game will be. Frontman agrees, and a soldier reveals a small bridge, causing the VIPs to wonder what it is. The players arrive at a white hall with mannequins wearing vests numbered. 1 to 16. They are asked to choose a number, and the VIPs start picking players to bet on. VIP 4 picks player 096, and when asked why, he explains that if he can't bet on 069, he'll bet on 096. The other VIPs laugh as they watch him make his choice. Gi-hun is unsure about which number to choose. There are 16 numbers, but only the beginning, 01, 04, and N numbers are left. The other players are also struggling to decide. The VIPs urge Frontman to give them a hint, and the announcer informs the players that the numbers represent the order in which they will play. They are asked to make their decision carefully. Gi-hun believes the first ones have an advantage if there's a time limit, but he also considers the risk of being the first to play. He ultimately decides to choose one of the last numbers, but as he hesitates, Do Young-soo, player 0 and 17, Sang-woo, and Se-byuk take numbers 13, 14, and 15, leaving number 16 as the last available number. Gi-hun still doubts whether it's safer to take number 16 or number 01, but he eventually decides to let player 096 take number 01. Player 096 asks Gi-hun if he can take number 01, explaining that he's always lived behind others and wants to take control of his life for once. Gi-hun agrees, and 096 takes the first number, while Gi-hun takes number 16. VIP 4 is frustrated with 096's decision, and the other VIPs laugh at his misfortune. The group is led into the next room, which is designed like a circus tent. There are 2 columns of glass panels ahead of them, and the PA announces that the fifth game is glass stepping stones. The objective is to cross to the other side before the 16-minute timer runs out. The players must step on the tempered glass panels, which can support 2 players, while the normal glass panels will break under the player's weight. Player 096 quickly realizes that he will be the first to guess the correct panels. He looks back at Gi-hun in horror, and Gi-hun can only watch sympathetically. As 096 steps up to the edge of the platform, VIP 4 insults him. He orders Junho to bring him another scotch and sit with him. VIP 4 insists that he'll stay with Junho and asks if anyone minds, to which the others agree. 096 hesitates before jumping to the first panel. He lands on the correct one, but when he jumps to the second, the panel breaks, and 096 falls to his death. VIP 4, who has developed a strange attraction to the waiter, orders him to remove his mask. Junho, fearing for his life, convinces the VIP to go somewhere private. In the secluded room, the VIP tries to molest Junho, but Junho attacks and subdues him. He holds the VIP at gunpoint and films everything on his phone. Junho demands the VIP tell him everything he knows about the game. The VIP is later found unconscious but alive, while Junho has escaped, continuing to evade capture. Back in the game, players near the front fall to their deaths, and the remaining players follow their path across the glass panels. Gi-hun realizes that there are enough panels left for the remaining players to cross. But Sang-woo warns him that if the players in front waste time, everyone will be in danger. Deok-soo at the front refuses to go further, confirming Sang-woo's warning. An argument breaks out between Deok-soo and player Young Min-tae, who is behind him. Min-yo shoves Min-tae into Deok-soo, and Deok-soo pushes him off to his death. Min-yo taunts Deok-soo, calling him a coward, but he still refuses to move. Min-yo tries to go ahead, but when Deok-soo lets her, she wraps her arms around him, and in an act of revenge for his betrayal, she throws them both off the bridge, killing them in a murder-suicide. As the timer runs down, only 4 players are left: Gi-hun, Zaebyok, Sang-woo, and Do Jung-soo. Jung-soo, claiming to have over 30 years of experience in glass manufacturing, begins to correctly identify the tempered glass panels. He helps the others by revealing which panels are safe to step on. However, when the front man turns off the lights, Jung-soo is unable to determine the last correct panel. With the timer running out, Sang-woo pushes Jung-soo into the last trick panel, sending him to his death. The remaining 3 players, Zaebyok, Gi-hun, and Sang-woo, manage to safely cross the bridge just as the timer hits 0. The remaining glass panels shatter, sending sharp shards flying around them. The VIPs stand and applaud the game, while the masked leader begins his pursuit of Junho, who has managed to escape the compound using diving equipment.
I used to make glass for over 30 years.
Next is Squid Game Season 1, Episode 8, titled Frontman. The episode starts with Hwang Junho, who has managed to escape the island where the games are being held. He reaches another nearby island, but soon realizes that his phone has no signal. He runs toward a steep slope to find a better spot. However, the frontman and a group of soldiers quickly follow Junho and arrive at the island soon after. They find Junho's diving pack, and the frontman orders the soldiers to find him and bring him back alive. Junho, hiding in the bushes, manages to get a bit of signal on his phone. He calls the police for backup and tries to send the videos he recorded, but his police chief can barely hear him over the static. Meanwhile, the 3 remaining players, Gi-hun, Sang-woo, and Zaebyok, are back in the lobby. Gi-hun and Sang-woo argue about the need for Sang-woo to push player 017 off the edge in the previous game. Gi-hun accuses Sang-woo of unnecessary violence, but Sang-woo defends himself, saying Gi-hun was in the back and didn't have to get his hands dirty. Gi-hun asks Sang-woo if he would have killed him if he was in player 017's position, but Sang-woo doesn't answer. Instead, he tears into Gi-hun, criticizing him for being irresponsible and getting into trouble. Gi-hun shoots back, pointing out that the pride of Sangmun-dong has fallen into the same shithole and has no one to blame but himself. Before their argument can escalate further, a manager and some workers enter, carrying boxes and congratulating the 3 of them for making it to the final round. Zaebyok heads to the bathroom to get ready for the next game. While changing, she reveals that she has been badly injured. She removes a large glass shard from her abdomen that was caused by the previous game's explosion. Zaebyok wraps the wound with a piece of her torn shirt to stop the bleeding. She opens one of the boxes to reveal a tuxedo inside. The finalists are then treated to a lavish steak dinner in the lobby as a reward for making it this far. Gi-hun and Sang-woo eagerly dig into their meal, eyeing each other with suspicion, while a clearly weakened Zaebyok barely touches her food. After the meal, the workers clean the table, but they leave behind the players' steak knives. The finalists keep their knives and head to their beds for the night. Meanwhile, Junho is still trying to escape from the island. He's now at the top of a slope, and the soldiers finally corner him. Junho tries to bluff, saying that he already sent the videos to the police, but the front man doesn't believe him since the island's reception is so poor. As the frontman walks closer, Junho shoots him in the shoulder, but the frontman stops the soldiers from retaliating. Instead, he tells Junho to come with them. Junho demands to know the frontman's true identity. The frontman doesn't answer, but takes off his mask to reveal that he is, in fact, Junho's missing brother, Inho. Junho is left speechless, unable to comprehend what's happening. When Inho extends his hand and asks Junho to join him, Junho shakes his head in disbelief. Inho, with a grim look on his face, points his gun at Junho and shoots him in the shoulder, causing him to fall into the ocean, seemingly to his death. Inho puts his mask back on and returns to his room, reflecting on the moment when Junho asked why before he shot him. Back in the dorms, the finalists are resting. Gi-hun goes over to Sae-byok, who is still recovering from her injury, and assures her that he's not going to hurt her. He hides his knife in his jacket. They talk about what they would do if they win the money, and both promise to take care of each other's families if one of them dies. Gi-hun notices Sang-woo sleeping and, feeling a mix of frustration and suspicion, takes out his knife. However, Sae-byok stops him, saying that Gi-hun is not a killer. Just as Gi-hun puts the knife away, he hears Sae-byok collapse on her bed. She's losing more blood. Gi-hun quickly runs to the door and begs for help. But when the doors finally open instead of help, workers walk past him carrying a coffin. Gi-hun turns around to find Sang-woo standing near Sae-byok's bed, covered in blood. When Gi-hun reaches her bed, he discovers that Sae-byok has been stabbed in the neck. He realizes that Sang-woo killed her with the knife he's holding. Furious, Gi-hun grabs his own knife and rushes at Sang-woo, but they are both quickly subdued by the soldiers. As the soldiers carry Sae-byok's lifeless body to her coffin, Gi-hun wails in agony. And now for the breakdown of Squid Game Season 1, Episode 9, the final episode of the season. This is the last episode of the season, and it's packed with shocking twists and emotional moments. Let's dive right into it. The episode kicks off with the final game, where Seong Gi-hun, player 456, and Cho Sang-woo, player 218, face off in a game of Squid Game, with Gi-hun playing offense and Sang-woo playing defense. A manager escorts them to the game arena, which is the same field where the red light, green light game took place. The rules are explained to them, and they get into position to play. Gi-hun easily manages to complete the first few stages of the game. He throws sand into Sang-woo's eyes to distract him and crosses the Squid's middle line. As the two continue to play, the rain starts pouring down, but they press on. As the game reaches its final stage, things take a dark turn. Both players abandon the game rules and start a brutal, bloody fistfight. Sang-woo gains the upper hand after stabbing Gi-hun in the thigh, and he's about to deliver the killing blow. But Gi-hun stops the knife with his hand, impaling it. In a final effort, Gi-hun bites Sang-woo's shin, causing him to scream in pain, giving Gi-hun the upper hand. He pins Sang-woo to the ground, punches him repeatedly, and takes the knife from him. However, Gi-hun refuses to kill Sang-woo. Instead, he stabs the knife into the ground and walks toward the Squid's head to win by default. Just as Gi-hun is about to win, he turns back to try and convince Sang-woo to end the game. He invokes the third clause of the agreement form, much to the shock of the VIPs. Gi-hun offers Sang-woo his hand, hoping to help him go back home. They reminisce about their old times, and Sang-woo slowly reaches for Gi-hun's hand. But then Sang-woo stops, apologizes, and grabs the knife to stab himself in the neck. Gi-hun is completely caught off guard and cradles the dying Sang-woo in his arms, devastated but helpless as Sang-woo bleeds to death. Sang-woo's final words are a request for Gi-hun to help his mother with the prize money. This breaks Gi-hun, and he sobs uncontrollably as he holds on to his childhood best friend, who has just taken his life. After the games, Gi-hun is blindfolded and tied up in a limousine with the frontman, who is unmasked. The frontman congratulates Gi-hun for winning, but Gi-hun is filled with rage. He demands to know who the frontman is and why he created these horrific games. The frontman refuses to answer, telling Gi-hun that the contestants are no more than horses on a racetrack. He advises Gi-hun to think of the whole experience as a bad dream. Before Gi-hun can ask more questions, the frontman puts his mask back on, and sleeping gas is released, knocking Gi-hun out cold. Gi-hun wakes up and finds himself dropped off on a street where a street preacher helps him up. He coughs out a credit card that was stuffed into his mouth and checks it at an ATM to reveal his prize money. He returns to his home and is greeted by Sang-woo's mother, who mentions that she hasn't heard from Sang-woo and asks if Gi-hun knows anything about him. Gi-hun, still traumatized by everything that happened, cannot answer or even look at her. When Gi-hun reaches his house, he finds his mother dead on the floor. He attempts to wake her, but realizes she has passed away, emotionally drained from everything he's seen and experienced. Gi-hun can't even cry anymore. He lies down beside his mother and holds her close in grief. 1 year later, Gi-hun is still deeply affected by his experiences. He hasn't even touched his prize money and is invited to the bank to meet with a financial advisor. The advisor is concerned about Gi-hun's state of mind and asks if he needs anything. Gi-hun simply asks for a 10,000 won bill. After leaving the bank, Gi-hun sits by the riverside drinking beer. A flower seller approaches him, begging him to buy a flower. Gi-hun reluctantly agrees, and as he takes the flower, he notices a black envelope tied with a pink bow inside the bouquet. Shocked, Gi-hun opens it to find a SquidGame business card with a message from his ganbu, telling him to go to the Seoul Sky building. Gi-hun heads to the Seoul Sky building and walks up to a bed where he sees Il-nam, still alive but barely hanging on. Gi-hun is shocked and furious, demanding answers. Il-nam, despite his fragile condition, insists on making a bet with Gi-hun to see if anyone will help an unconscious drunk man outside before midnight. Gi-hun reluctantly agrees, hoping to get the answers he wants. Il-nam reveals the truth. He is the host, the mastermind behind the games. While he did lie about his financial situation, he was telling the truth about his tumor. Il-nam explains that after becoming too wealthy and living a life of excess, he became bored and miserable. The games were created to entertain the ultra-wealthy, and he participated in them for the nostalgia of his childhood, when he played games with friends and felt true happiness. Gi-hun wins the bet when a passerby and a police officer help the unconscious drunk man, and Il-nam dies, presumably witnessing his own loss just before passing. With his faith in humanity restored, Gi-hun snaps out of his stupor. He fulfills his promises. He gets a haircut and heads to the orphanage, where Se-byuk's little brother, Kang-cheol, is staying. He takes him to Sang-woo's mother, who agrees to watch over him. When she opens the suitcase to look for clothes for the boy, she finds stacks of money and a note. She calls out to Gi-hun, but by the time she turns around, he's already gone. It's 2022, and Gi-hun arrives at the train station at the airport, talking to his daughter on the phone, whom he's going to visit in Los Angeles. As he hangs up, he hears loud bangs and a groan coming from the other side of the station. He runs to find the salesman playing dakji again with a man. Gi-hun desperately tries to grab the salesman, but the man gets on the train and leaves. Furious, Gi-hun grabs the business card from the other man, demanding that he not go. Later, Gi-hun is about to board the plane when he stops and calls the number from the business card. The front man answers, warning him not to get involved. Gi-hun declares that he won't forgive them for the cruelty of the games. The front man advises him again to board the plane for his own safety, but Gi-hun defies him, walking away from the plane with a determined look on his face. That's all for Season 1 of Squid Game. Gi-hun's journey has been one of survival, loss and realization. What a wild ride it's been, and we can't wait to see what happens next.